All right, guys, let's get started here. Okay. So, got make sure my screen's sharing. All right, if you guys have stuff you want me to take a look at, put it in the chat below and I can go over that and yeah, we'll go from there. So few updates here. So I've made my commitments for the remainder of 2025 and I'm going to be tightening up my rules and updating a lot of stuff. So I, a lot of you guys know I've been developing a trading bot, and so that's going to be done this week. But I've been trading with it already, and I've made some updates to it. I've spent a lot of time studying my trading and not having to manage positions has really freed up my time. And I've been able to study a ton of my performance, things like that. And so I'm going to, based on what I've seen so far, I'm making a commitment. And these are the things I'm going to focus on for the remainder of 2025. I got them written down here, but it's on a notepad, so you're not going to be able to see it. Okay, so I've got a list of 24 names here that I'm keeping an eye on, not including this here. But so the major indexes, the futures, these keys, why I'm paying attention to these is I because these are the leading sectors within the indexes. So SMH, XLK, XLC, these ones are heavy within the Nasdaq. So right here, these top four are heavy in the Nasdaq and what make up a big portion of the Nasdaq. So um, then we've got XLF and XLI, which this is the financials. This makes up a significant part of the S&P 500, right? And then industrials is probably the least important of these sectors, but it makes up a huge portion of the Dow. Okay. So these are the five sectors that I'm paying attention to. They kind of all intertwine with each other, besides financials don't really matter in the NASDAQ as much. And then same with industrials, but financials are very important in the Dow especially, and more the S&P 500. And then XLI, which is the industrials, is pretty important when it comes to really just the Dow. Okay. And then as for IWM, that's just the regional banks and things like that. Maybe I could add that in here, but I'm not going to. Okay. Um, then from there, I've got these key names here. So these are the names that make up a majority of the indexes. And so this is the list here. I have the full list on Trading View or Thinkorswim, but this is pretty close. And then I'm watching the futures of a few different things. So crypto, so Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm going to pay attention to those. Gold, rates, and silver. All right. And then that's my complete list. So this is the only things I'm going to be focusing on into the rest of 2025. Okay. So that's the first thing. I've narrowed my focus down to a select list of about 24 names, 25 names. Okay. And then from there, I'm strictly going to be focused on swing trading. So the 4 hour, the daily time frames, the weekly time frames. All right. And I'm going to be focused on using the signals through those time frames and then the pivot breakouts, um, which I've talked to you guys a little bit about. And then the only exceptions for any of this is we have if we have a greater than 10% correction, I'm going to look for other stocks. Um, that will be leading out of the correction. So like when we had this major pullback here, I will be looking for names like PLTR or Hood or things like this where we're setting up on higher time frames and after the bigger market correction where I can swing these for long periods of time. That's the only other time I'll be looking at stocks outside of these. The other exception is um, when the index has weekly buy signals. Okay. So pretty plain and simple. That only happens once or twice a year. And then from there, I'm only going to be using intraday charts, so like the 30-minute time frame, to be adding to winning positions. Okay. So I've noticed that my biggest winners, so if I go to NQ, like my biggest winner in 2024 was NQ, and it was off of this move right here. And so I bought here on this breakout day and then swung it and held it through this full day here. All right. And now you can see if I go back in time, and this is the last part I'll show you guys. But we had the squeeze on the daily time frame, which is the reason to get in. But then also if you look at the 30-minute time frame, we had some 30-minute buy signals here. So this is where my point where I would like to add to positions. Okay. So that's that. That's my commitment for the rest of 2025. My other commitments are I've deleted all social media, which I already didn't have social media in the first place. I have people post for me. I have somebody that does that for me on social media platforms, but I'm also cutting out any of the other uh, trading material that I learned from, meaning like one of my mentors' discords and all of that stuff, completely cutting it out, besides one of my mentors, and then all social medias are gone. Okay. So this will help you guys because I'll be more focused on you guys. I'll be more focused on trading. And going to be a pretty big change for the rest of 2024. So let's see how it goes. I'm pretty excited about it. So with that being said, if you guys have stocks you want me to look at outside of this list, I'll go over them, but I'm not going to be trading them unless one of the exceptions that I named earlier. All right. So that's just a forewarning. This is the stuff I'm paying attention to. And we're just each weekly watch this class, we're going to dive into each of them and talk about them. So let's do this. Um, I'm gonna go here. Okay. So now let's take a look at some charts here. Okay. So this, let's move to the weekly, and then let's make sure this is all set. So I've been working on these rules for the past few weeks, and this week I'm starting to implement it. So interval, symbol, crosshair, date range. I don't need to do date range. Okay. So taking a look at this, this is gonna bother me. Okay. So taking a look at the charts, we can see the weekly time frame. I'm gonna want this date range to do that. Okay. So taking a look at the weekly charts, you can see here on SPY, QQQ, we still have momentum going to the upside. We'll start with SPY. Momentum going to the upside. We didn't get enough of a consolidation to get a move or a squeeze, but we want to take note of. We've got a monthly, nope, not on SPY. It's on NQ. Yeah, so we've got a monthly squeeze on NQ that we definitely want to pay attention to. I believe it's on QQQ. Nope. So just NQ. So that's not too much of a signal that we want to pay attention to. I don't think that's too like detrimental, right? But let's check here. Yep, we've got monthly on YM, which is the Dow, and then IWM actually has some momentum signals on the monthly. So this gap down, I'm not sure what RTY is doing, but I've got an alert set to try and buy some IWM at 215. Let's see where that's trading at. It's down, not much. Okay, so I think where we're gonna want to buy this, where it would be really great support. I really like the idea if we can get some calls here right around this area. You can see that's the 200, the 21 EMA, and 2,200 all line up. So if we get a pullback here, that'd be a really nice dip buy. Um, so let's keep an eye on that one and change this back to the weekly chart. Okay, so keep an eye on that pullback. That should be a really good dip buy opportunity. But if we go back to SPY, we can see here we're starting to get a little extended. We're even extended from the 5 EMA on the weekly. But if we look at this, so what you're seeing is we're holding the 5 EMA, and both the 5 and 9 are trending up. And then we also look at SPY here. I would be a little surprised if we went and took out support here the in at the 9 and went down to 6,200. But one of the things I am looking out for is can we, I think we're going to trade sideways for a bit. And honestly, if we're trading like somewhat like this here, where we go and we're like trading sideways to up, and then we build a squeeze, and then we begin to break out, that's when we're going to want to get pretty heavily long and kind of like this right here. Okay, so you can see this consolidation pattern. We build a squeeze. We're getting tight price action, but we're building higher lows and like how I describe it is when you get a squeeze that's trading sideways and or you get a squeeze that is still trading higher, that's usually a really bullish sign. Okay. That's how we traded Nvidia. Here we bought on this day right here. You can see here we got the squeeze at four, or it was on the 4 hour, but we got a squeeze and we can't even trade sideways. We're still just trading higher and higher and higher. So yeah, great setup there. From there, now what we're looking for is I'm looking for, I think, at least the first few days here of this week, we're going to get some more sideways consolidation. Okay. We're going to get some trading sideways and just I think we're just going to trade sideways for a few, at least the beginning of this week. And I wouldn't be surprised if we continued to trade sideways until we got through some earnings. So what I'm thinking is SPY QQQ will trade sideways. And I think the YM is going to be the first one to kind of break out. And the reason I say that is because this one still has a weekly squeeze and has not fired off, but also it has not made new all-time highs yet, and it's almost there. But on top of that, bank earnings are going to get out of the way first, which I think we're going to have the bank earnings come out. They'll be okay, and then those are going to be the first ones to break out. All right. So that's what I'm kind of thinking is going to happen. JPM has earnings on the 15th. It is currently the 13th. So on Tuesday, that will begin. Goldman Sachs will have its earnings on Wednesday. So yeah, keeping all that in mind, that's what I do like personally. I think what will happen is we'll see more sideways action, but we'll see some more strength in the Dow. So that's just what I'm thinking, like theory wise, into next week. And so from there, if we go QQQ, we do have the first bar of lost momentum on the daily. So this for me is a little bit of a warning sign that I don't want to continue to add longs until I see some more conviction of us moving upside. So early this week, I think we're going to be doing a lot of sitting on our hands. Like tomorrow, I don't think we're going to be taking new positions. And then Tuesday, after the bank earnings come out, I think we'll probably sit on our hands, wait for the bank earnings to come out, and then maybe or then Wednesday, I think we'll get something that is actionable because that's the beginning of earnings. And then that starts the whole earnings series here, which could provide us the next leg higher. I do think we're going to continue higher. I don't think we're going to see a top here in the markets and then a major pullback. I do think eventually we're going to hit this 1272 here. We go check the put call. The put call. Yeah, it's well below zero point 0.7 at this point, which that's definitely a warning sign. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But I think earnings is going to be what the major catalyst is for us going into this week. So depending on what the overall earnings does, I think that's what's going to make our decision going into this week. So we want to see how the earnings come out, and then that will give us the idea, and we'll see if the Dow can have a big breakout into new all-time highs. And I think that will be a really solid trade. So let's check out the 4 hour. This one doesn't have a squeeze, so I think within the next few days, like maybe Wednesday, we'll have a squeeze showing up on the 4 hour, and it might be something that is tradable. So we're going to keep an eye on that. QQQ, I think, has actually started its 4 hour squeeze. Yep. So this is traded a 4 hour squeeze. If this does print a signal, I'm going to trade it. So that looks good there. SPY has not created its 4 hour squeeze. It's just, are we going to get a pump into earnings or are we going to trade sideways? So, like if we look at, let's see here. Let's see when these earnings are. So usually the first one to report, if I remember correctly, is Netflix. So Netflix earnings is this week. Okay, so Netflix earnings is this week. Let's see about these other ones. Caterpillar, oh, it's got some time on it. But okay, yeah. So the earnings is really starting this week, and I think that's going to be the catalyst for us. So we have to pay attention to that. Earnings this week is going to be the catalyst. So pay attention to that, and we'll see what happens from there. And that will either give us a move lower to the 21 or back to the 21 EMA, which very well, now that we're looking at the put call, could happen. Or we'll just, it just depends on how the earnings. We'll see how people react to the earnings, and usually you start to see a theme. Or we either gap, like sometimes you'll see a theme of stocks where they gap up, like right before this correction right here we saw a theme of stocks, like in this period, gapping up and then coming right back down and filling its gap after earnings. And that just kind of happened over and over and over again on a bunch of different stocks. And that's kind of a warning sign for us. So we'll see this week will be really telling, okay, what is the type of price action that we're seeing now from these ones that are coming out with earnings? Are they positive? Are they ending up being big runners? Or what are they gapping and continuing to hold the gap? Or what are they doing? Okay. So that's kind of the main thing here. I think we're going to trade sideways and get some pretty choppy sideways action until we get that earnings report to come out. Okay. And you can see now we're just gapping down to the 9 EMA. Like, okay, we're down 0.4%, but really we're just gapping down to the 9 EMA. That's all that's happening here. So don't get frazzled. That we have this 4 hour squeeze, but I'm not going to trust it. I'm just going to wait until the futures 4 hour squeezes usually are not that like sometimes they're good, but really it's the cash indexes that we want to pay attention to. So basically what I'm saying is we're probably going to be bored for the next this week. So it's going to be pretty boring waiting for the earnings. So SMH, this one just continues to run. There's nothing to say about this one. We continue to play this one upside because we have monthly buy signals on this one. So this one should continue to break out to the upside, and we should continue to play that in a bullish fashion until the trend breaks. XLK, you can see clear momentum here. We're not even pulling back to the 9 or the 21. XLC, this one's back at the 21 EMA. That's kind of where Meta is, and Netflix is kind of pulling back. And then Google is the relative strength one there. But okay, so XLY, this is a great looking chart, and I think we could see a really nice breakout on this one. We've got a weekly squeeze that is just now firing off, and this is the only sector, if you look, that has yet to make all-time highs. Okay. So looking through all of these, XLY is the only one that hasn't made new all-time highs. Even the industrials have. Okay. So like I think a sympathy play we can simply play is the Dow and XLY making it into new highs. I think those are two ones that should play out pretty nicely. And with that being said, Amazon has a weekly squeeze that has just fired. We had high volume breakout on Friday. So I am looking for, okay, can we get a continuation of the upside? Look at these volume bars. So you can see here, high volume here, and then above average volume here. So this candle means something where we had this breakout into a new high and then we've held up, we held the 9. So as long as we hold the 9, look for this thing to continue higher, okay? Momentum is to the upside. We've got a weekly squeeze that's firing, and XLY, which the top holding is Amazon, is firing this weekly squeeze as well. We had this nice inside week. Watch us break out to the upside, and we're gonna head to a new high. So that inside week looks pretty good though. So let's set an alert there. So breakout on that inside week, we'll want to keep an eye on that. Maybe could buy some shorter dated calls on XLY. Okay. Continuing through XLF, I think this might be worth a reload somewhere in here. We need to look for another weekly signal, but pull back to this support area. We've got some pretty heavy support or resistance that's now turned to support. And we'll see how the earnings come out. So banks are usually the first to report. So I think this will be a good one to play the upside. Okay. Uh, XLI. So this one's just kind of off to the races. Weekly squeeze fired, no looking back. Daily squeeze entry, no looking back. Momentum has not shifted. So, okay, Apple. So Apple's coming up on the weekly 50. I think this one could see a nice upside breakout. You can see all these moving averages are kind of crossing. We've got um, the 5 and the 9 up here at support with the 21. So we got this nice inside candle. I think that we could see a pretty good breakout on Apple potentially into earnings. So this one looks great. Do we have a 4 hour squeeze or something? Not yet. We probably have a 2 hour. Yeah, we got a 2 hour squeeze there. So that one looks good. I think this one could play some catch up and maybe a move back into 216 and then higher. We did finally get this breakout of this sideways consolidation. So with that, we might be able to get a nice entry on a breakout maybe of yesterday's high. So keep an eye out for that one. And we could play that one to the upside, but that looks pretty good for continuation. And a hold above the 21, we just look for continuation because there's a lot of support here. There's this blue line is the 21 EMA. The red line is the 5. And then we've also got the 9 right here. So a lot of support lining up. NVIDIA, we had a nice trade on this one. Nice weekly squeeze buy here. I don't think there's really anything to do at this point, honestly. I think we kind of got to just sit on our hands and wait for a pullback on this one. Don't want to trade it up there. Similar thing for Microsoft. You can see this one has yet to break the 9. So if this one does break the 9, that's a pretty good warning sign that we may see a pullback in the overall markets. So this one is really strong, has yet to pull back, continued momentum, but don't forget this one had a monthly squeeze and it's fired off long. So this one could continue to see a lot of momentum. Oops. Oh, I see. Yeah, monthly squeeze has just now fired or hasn't fired yet. It's gone from red to black. So this one here has can have some much more upside. So we'll want to continue to trade that to the upside. So these ones with the monthly squeezes, all those daily squeezes you see up next, just keep buying, 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 and trading them to the upside unless the markets tell you to do something different. Like SMH, and all of these are showing SMH, Microsoft, these ones with the monthly squeezes, we can continue to trade those for the next, if when they fire off, we can trade them for the next 12 months to the upside, give or take 10 months. Okay. Amazon, we discussed this one already. You can see nice buy signals. And then we've got this weekly squeeze firing off to the upside. So watch the 786 level. We break this 25-ish level, then it's kind of over. We're gonna go see new all-time highs. And then from there, look for 265. This does have earnings coming up. I do still think it's worth it um, to maybe potentially hold it through the earnings, but we do have some time until that earnings comes out. Google. This one is my favorite setup right now. I think this is a really, really good setup here. We've got weekly buys. You can see the last weekly buys we had there. That one didn't work out too well. That one worked out really nicely. That one worked out really nicely. So I am looking for continuation to the upside on this one. Daily looks good. We bought it right here. So I told you guys to do long-term buys in Google, not because of the daily and weekly charts, but if you go look at the monthly, we've got buys. Here's the last time we had buys. Here's the time before that we had buys. The time before that we had buys. The time before that. Uh, just saying, the monthly buys have yet to miss on Google. So I'm willing to bet on that each time. Still got to manage your risk because we don't know what's going to happen, but you got to know the facts that this signal has yet to miss. And we are currently off about 15% from all-time highs. Okay. So, Google, we've got weekly, we've got daily, we've got monthly buys that could give us a really nice move to the upside. And I probably will take a position in this and hold it through earnings. I'm just saying. So, that's just me. I'll take something that's smaller risk and hold it through earnings. I'm probably going to do like a 200 and 200, 210 call debit spread for like September, October expiration. So maybe even November. We'll just see. I have it saved in my phone. I can't remember which one I had written down. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for in this one. Okay, so Meta, I think this one looks great. It just is like the market. It needs some time. You can see here, little consolidation and then move up. Consolidation, move up. Consolidation. Now what do you guess is going to happen next? What I'm looking for is a buy signal. So here's buy signals here. Nice move up. We traded this one and caught a really nice move on that. I missed this one because we were trading NVIDIA. But then here, now we're looking for, okay, can we get a next buy for the next leg up and a breakthrough and hold through new all-time highs. We've got key level there at 700, yada yada. I think we just need a little bit more time. This might be a daily squeeze type deal here though, because we've had two legs up on 4 hour squeezes. We may need a daily one. Tesla. Okay, Tesla is pretty interesting here to me because if you look, I'm gonna clear this off. What did I just click? Okay. So if we look at this, you can see that um, we've been holding this 50 really well on Tesla on the weekly chart. And then also we had this weekly buy, we had a 10% pump. But notice all this action right here this here, price action has been pretty crazy on Tesla, right? But we have yet to break the 21 EMA. Okay. So that's pretty interesting. So we each time we have closed above the 21 EMA in all of these dips. We had this big down move here, got bought up, back above the 21. Uh gap down here, recovered the whole thing and closed above the 21 here. And this is the second biggest holding in XLY. Okay, so I'm looking to build a long position in Tesla. I think that this might be something that we wait for earnings to come out. Um, I haven't really decided. It might be worth taking a shot here before earnings and then adding. But like with Tesla, I'm okay with this gapping up, gapping to the upside and us taking a position on the gap up. So unless it's like 50% gap up or something crazy, because like you look at the monthly, we had some monthly buy signals showing up, and then we had an inside candle. So I think if we break this inside candle, we're gonna rip to the upside. So like anywhere under 350-ish, I'm okay with buying. So um this might be a wait after earnings type deal, but yeah, we've got monthly buys. And then I don't ever look at these charts, but I've seen this consolidating for a while. We're getting a 3 month buy on this one. You can see the last 3 month buy took us from 260, so 86%. So I think it's worth keeping an eye on, in my opinion. And I think that we'll want to add a position on this because one, we're holding the weekly 50 really well, which we did back in here before this massive move. And then two, we've had some fit. a lot of fake outs here and recoveries of the 21. So I don't know. I think it's worth it. I might just pick up some long-term shares for my long-term portfolio, and then after that, I'll likely add, like after earnings, likely add to this position. So, but you can see here, this 200 has also acted as key resistance. If we get back above that and start trading above that, I think that's worth taking a look at to buy some of that too. But yeah, really good risk to reward setup here. Um, Broadcom, nothing really to say about this one. I think we're going to trade sideways a little bit longer. Oops. So that's the weekly chart. So I think this one's going to trade sideways a bit longer. We had some nice buy signals here, caught a nice move up, but I think we're going to trade sideways a little bit, form a daily squeeze, something like that. Well, do we have a 4 hour? Yeah, we've got a 4 hour, so we'll keep an eye on this one and look to trade this one to the upside. But definitely keep an eye on this one because we've got a 4 hour squeeze. So Netflix, not gonna, nothing to trade on that one here. Just wait for earnings. JPM starting to form a nice pattern here. Few inside candles, four of them, but we're probably gonna get that until earnings. So Caterpillar, nothing to do there. Goldman Sachs, same thing. This one looks even stronger than JPM. So, and then we're just now forming a 4 hour squeeze. So if we get a positive earnings report on JPM or Goldman Sachs, and then we get a buy signal, I'll want to trade that. So for sure. Bitcoin, this one looks great. We bought it back in here for long term and we bought it for a trade, but we sold it for a trade when it made new all-time highs. But like if you're still holding from the long term buy we had talked about back on this, literally that candle right there, it's up 27%. This is the only thing my grandma's portfolio is holding because I bought it right here actually on her portfolio. Um, but yeah, so very nice trade there. That looks great. Gold. Okay. Now that's an interesting setup on gold. I do like that. So we'll keep an eye on this one for gold. We're getting 2 day, 1 day, 2 day, and 3 day buys. So gold actually looks pretty actionable. And if we hold above that 21, that's a great looking setup. So we'll keep, or sorry, that 50. So looking for this one, we'll keep an eye on this. Hopefully we can get a setup on that one. ZB, this is interest rates. I think this is a short to go short TLT. And I think we're going to make it down towards, we could probably get to this 100 level. I think we're going to see a pretty, so this is inverse of the rates, and I think we're going to see a pretty nasty move down, in my opinion, in interest rates. So if that sounds confusing, but this is the opposite of interest rates. So what I think is going to happen based on the charts, based on the way we've been trading, we're probably going to see interest rates rise from here. So that's just my opinion. We've got monthly sell signals. Yep, we got a monthly sell signal. We've got weekly sell signals. We've got daily sales signals. We got 2 day, 3 day. This looks pretty nasty. So, and you can see here, this is the opposite pattern of what I was telling you. When it's so strong, it trades sideways and forms, or trades up and forms a squeeze. This one is trading down and forming a squeeze. So I think this is a short for sure. I probably will short this into the open tomorrow. We'll see. Um, SI, silver. This one had a nice setup here, nice weekly buys back in here. I didn't trade it, wasn't paying attention to it, but this one looks good. And then as for how's the XRP doing? XRP is holding up pretty well. We bought this right on this day right here. This one's having a nice breakout, weekly squeeze. I'm looking for this one to continue the upside. Um, But yeah, I'm looking for a spot. Hopefully, we can trade sideways for a few days, let the 9 EMA catch up, and then I'd like to buy more and then catch this move because I'm pretty confident this is going to move into 200 billion market cap. So I like that idea. All right, guys, that's all I have to cover. Do you guys have anything you want me to take a look at? Anything you want me to go over? Because other than that, that is it for me. Any charts you want me to take a look at? Or are we good? We just covered a wide variety of things. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.